Hey guys, happy to have you here. Coach Rye from Team Flex. We're about to be diving in to bikini versus wellness, this kind of comparison where I'm going to highlight the differences in each type of division, the difference in what the judges are looking for, what they expect to see as far as muscularity goes, conditioning goes, shape, symmetry, all of that we're going to talk about, so you can do your best either way, but also maybe figure out a little bit more insight into which division is best for you, right? Because that's the question a lot of people have. And I know there's a lot of confusion when it comes to bikini and wellness and what's the differences. What some people look at it and they can't tell the difference. Some coaches, I've heard athletes come into our team from other coaches and said you train the same way as bikini, you do everything the same. No. Okay, let's talk about these differences. I'll give you some more insight into each bit of this and also just teach you a little bit more overall about both divisions so you can make a better decision for which one you should be competing in, and also just get more knowledge about what is the actual difference overall and what the judges want to see. Okay, so if you're looking at the screen here, I'm about to start doodling for you. All right, let's dive in and make sure any point in time you guys subscribe to this channel. It's just one of the great pieces of content that we're doing all the time for you. All right, so let's look at it. So we have two Olympia athletes here. These are two athletes that got actually second place in bikini on the left here, and then second place in wellness on the right. So these are two top contenders for that top slot. And when we look at Olympia level competitors, it's not to say that you out there watching, if you're a beginner, you haven't been doing this a long time or anything like that, or you don't need to look like this to be competing. Okay, you could never have done a show and you don't need to look like this to go to stage. You could be a national level competitor and you don't need to look like this to go to stage. But when we look at the top level, what we get is the judges giving us more kind of insight, saying, hey, here's the criteria, and this is going to kind of trickle down to every division. So really important to understand that the criteria remains the same. It just depends on the quality of competitors at each level. So let's take a look here at our athletes. So bikini versus wellness. Right away, what you're going to see from the standpoint of shape and symmetry is that wellness, as we know, is this lower body dominance. Okay, so you can see here this wellness athlete has far more muscular development than this bikini athlete, and this is just how it goes, guys. Wellness division is way more muscular, lower body dominant. If we really want to dumb it down, bikini and wellness are very comparable, everything as far as up top, and lower body is where we really see what wellness becomes. Okay, and so let's talk a little bit more about those specifics though. I just said upper body and bikini and wellness pretty on par, and it is. Okay, so if we look, there's some similarities of things judges look for in both these divisions. They want to see these rounded shoulders, so you'll see these on both of these athletes here. They have this shoulder development, this muscular shoulder development that creates this fullness, this roundness. This comes from training pretty much all three heads of the deltoid and really keeping a finite focus on that shape. That's what really does start in both of these divisions, this kind of upper body shape for us, this muscularity where that width, it's going to taper us down into the narrow at the waist. And that's the next area we're going to talk about. So you'll notice both these athletes have narrow at the waist right there. They got these tiny waists, and that's really what creates that first bit of what I call the hourglass. Bikini is all about hourglass. It's symmetrical up and down all the way, but both bikini and wellness have this hourglass shape for the upper body. They're both tapering, in other words, right? So the narrow at the waist, the small waist, that's very important. Now, other muscle groups are important. Upper body wise, you're going to see some symmetrical things happening with both these athletes, bikini and wellness. They have biceps going on, they got some tricep going on, but this is all done in symmetry to what the shoulders are doing. Again, you never want to build too big of arms to the point where now the shoulders are being downsized by the look. You don't want your arms to overpower what the judges are looking for when they're looking for that width up top. The more basically dramatic though you can get the tiny waist and the shoulder width up top, the better it's going to be for you in either division, bikini or wellness. So realistically, top and upper up from the waist up, everything in bikini and wellness is pretty similar. Even conditioning. Okay, conditioning is one thing too. Everybody always wonders, bikini, wellness, conditioning, it's different, right? Wellness athletes are so much leaner. No, actually they're not. They're pretty on par with conditioning, and that means level of leanness, and you're going to see this level of conditioning be called soft lines, stuff like that, but not striations. Okay, judges do not want to see striations. They don't want to see deep cuts in muscle. So if we're looking at these athletes here, you'll see some similarities. This kind of ab oblique line, okay, that's an indicator of a certain level of conditioning, certain level of leanness, if you will. They both have flat stomachs overall, okay? Their stomach's flat, not holding extra body fat. You're gonna see some soft lines into the arms, the shoulders, you know, these things like this. But again, these are not deep cut striations. As far as the women's divisions go, the conditioning in bikini and wellness is the softest when we compare it to, you know, figure, women's physique, women's bodybuilding. This is the lowest level as far as that goes. You don't have to get as lean for these divisions, okay? So that's important to keep in mind. And you'll see the same things lower body, lines in the quads here and there, but not deep cuts, not striations, not showing actual muscle fibers, muscle threads, okay? So let's take a look now, lower body, muscularity. What makes really wellness is going to be, you know, this dominant lower body factor where you can really see the muscularity is just on a different level, okay? The muscularity in wellness, period, lower body is a lot more than it is bikini. So you can see this wellness athlete, very developed glutes here, upper glute very developed, fullness to the full glute, you know, a lot of just development, a lot of muscle. The quad too, like this is a lot of muscle in this quad, a lot of muscle in this hamstring. This is a lot of development. Now it's not to say bikini is not developed, it is. You still have to attain that level of muscularity. You're gonna still see, you know, the fullness to the upper glute here, fullness to the glute overall, and the quad development. Of course, all this is important. Hamstring here too, you'll see a little bit of, but it's not to the degree of wellness, period, okay? You know, literally, if we look at this side by side here, I hope you're seeing these changes, these differences right now, you know, what wellness really is compared, when we're looking at it compared to bikini. It's a lot more muscular development. It's, you know, it could be almost 2 times if we're really looking at the shot here, considering, you know, like how developed and how large this athlete's leg are in wellness versus this one in bikini. So it's really important to look at that and notice those differences, okay? So let's look now into the back post, because this is where we get a lot more insight here, even more too, okay? A lot of similarities we're going to see, you know, as far as things go. You're going to still see the everything from the upper body be pretty symmetrical, pretty similar in both of these categories. You're going to see that shoulder roundness, you're going to see the tricep development, you're going to see that taper from the lats, the narrowing at the waist, all these effects that, again, I mean, bikini and wellness, pretty comparable as far as it goes. From the waist up, it is pretty similar for the most part, okay? You'll see differences, but those are differences in athletes, not in judging criteria, not what they are looking for. This is where wellness, you know, again, we see this dominance, this lower body dominance that makes wellness. And that's when we look at the lower body. So we can see here, glutes, okay? Both divisions have a lot of glute development. You're still going to see that same glute development, that same fullness, all of that upper glute that becomes very, very important. Judges are always looking for this when they're judging in either of these divisions. You're going to see this on both athletes. But again, the difference really becomes in the overall muscularity. So this athlete, you can tell it's, you know, in this picture, a lot more glute development here overall, just overall more development in the glute muscle period than in bikini. And so that's something to factor in. You know, if you are an athlete that likes to have more lower body dominance, wellness could be a great spot for you. If you prefer more symmetrical, smaller, you know, framed look, then it might be bikini as a better bet for you. But realistically, where we start to see is that, you know, looking at this wellness athlete, even the shoulders and all this, the lower body is really overpowering her upper body, okay? And that's what they want to see. Whereas in bikini, it's very symmetrical, okay? You're going to see how the shoulders and everything else, the quads, all this really comes into perfect symmetry together. That's why they call, you know, bikini the hourglass shape and very symmetrical division. So let's look again, lower body. A lot of areas that, you know, I get asked about all the time. Glute ham tie, right? Like where the glutes tie into the hamstring. A lot of people think this is a specific muscle you can train. It's not. This tie-in look, this kind of aesthetic that everyone's always looking for, comes from having actual superior glute development as well as hamstring development, and then you couple it together with stage level conditions. So if you get to the stage level leanness where you can see that, that's where you're going to really see these things. And as far as, you know, trying to get ham ties, if you don't have the muscularity, good luck. It's just not going to happen. You really got to have that development if you want to show any type of a tie-in, okay? This is not an area, by the way, where judges have it on their sheet. They're marking a scorecard on that. They're not. What I hear from all the judges when I ask them is that they want to see, you know, this area be tight. They want to see it, you know, have this kind of slight separation between the glutes and the hamstrings, but not to the point, again, where it's striated, it's all this and that. And again, you don't even need to have a superior like glute ham tie-in. There's some athletes that have a lot of one and some that have less, and they all can still place well. You can actually even see here, you know, looking at Bikini versus Wellness in this shot, at least, it could appear that even Bikini has a slightly better tie-in, but that's just due to the fact of, you know, this athlete differences, not necessarily the criteria and what the judges are looking for. But if you want to get a glute ham tie-in, it's going to require, you know, building the glute muscle a lot, building the hamstring muscle a lot, and being at the right level of leanness to show that off. So this area, you know, judges don't want to see extra body fat. They want to really see what's going on as far as the muscularity, and that's a pretty good indicator for them if you're at the right level of stage condition, okay? But again, deep shreds, deep cuts, stuff like that, going to score you down. Now, let's look at the quads here on this wellness athlete. So we can see here a lot of development going on, okay? The quads are so developed, we're seeing this quad sweep from the back post. That's pretty dramatic, okay? That's really an indicator of how much more developed lower body wellness really is. You're not going to see that a lot in Bikini. It's very faint here. It's really, again, Bikini's all symmetrical, downsized compared to wellness when it comes to the lower body for sure. Wellness lower body is dominant, okay? And hamstring, same thing. You can see here on these wellness athletes that the hamstrings are a lot more full, a lot more developed than they are in Bikini. But again, the conditioning and all that, pretty on par, even lower body. You know, we're not seeing either athlete being a lot leaner than any other one. They're really symmetrical. So that's really how kind of Bikini and wellness come together. The main difference would be, you know, this lower body dominance. They're very similar divisions, but actually they're quite different when you really break it down that way and you understand what the judges are looking for as far as the glutes go, the quads go, and the hamstrings go when it comes to wellness versus Bikini. So, you know, my tip for any of you out there, if you're trying to figure out what division is best for you, what I always tell athletes to do is consider, you know, how they would like to look 365 days a year, okay? Because if you want to be a competitive athlete in any of the bodybuilding divisions, it becomes a lifestyle, okay? It's not gonna be something you can do just one time and, you know, whatever. You're gonna have to be training for this for a while. For either division, it's gonna take you some amount of time training to get that shape, that symmetry, that size, the proportion. For either one, you're gonna have to do that. So you're gonna have to build some muscle and, you know, obviously do your preps, go to stage, do all that, and you're gonna have then your improvement seasons where now you gotta focus on making those improvements, get back to stage, do it again. So, you know, you got to think of long-term how you would like to look. If you're the woman that likes to have, you know, a larger lower body, you like to have more glute development, you like to have bigger legs, bigger quads, or maybe that's just kind of your genetic setup, right? Some women are that way where they just naturally have that. I know for a fact a lot of the successful wellness athletes I'm working with, you know, they had a history of training sports or lifting weights in high school and stuff like that. That's kind of already got them that muscular development to a degree, and then they're just shifting focus over towards bodybuilding now. But, you know, realistically, if that's you, if you like that, then it might be the best division for you for sure to consider. Bikini, it's very symmetrical. It's a lot smaller overall development wise. It's a lot more you know, of the hourglass shape like we talk about, perfectly symmetrical upper to lower, and, you know, overall smaller frame. So some women really like that look. They like that smaller aesthetic. They like that for themselves all the time, not necessarily, you know, just for competing, but all the time. So realistically, you got to think, because, you know, if you're doing a prep, you go to stage, even if you do several shows a year, there's going to be you know, a cumulative time of maybe a couple minutes total, right, where you're actually on that stage versus the entire year where you got to be training for this stuff, okay? Whether it's in a prep or it's in an improvement season, you're going to be working for it, you're going to be training for it to attain it. So you got to really think about what's going on off the stage for your physique and what you like, and that kind of can give you a lot more insight. So what I tell athletes to do is consider, if you want to go to the top level of, you know, either of these divisions, you want to start out, you want to go win your show, go get a pro card, you know, even try to get to an Olympia level eventually, you know, as a pro, you're going to have to consider the fact of what you're going to look like 365, and, you know, what would you be fine with doing that with, right? Like, where would you rather sit? Would you rather be in the smaller frame, or would you rather have the really large dominant lower body? And everybody has their differences and everybody has their preferences, but that's really what I tell people, because I honestly believe you can train to attain either look. You don't need a specific genetic to be able to be a wellness competitor or a bikini competitor. You can train like that. You can eat the right way to get these things. You can actually, you know, get a coach that can help get you there, and you can attain either look. So it really comes down to me and what I tell athletes. And my best advice to you, if you're still watching, I appreciate it, make sure you're subscribed, is you know, think which one you really like, which look you would like to have the most, and then train to attain it, train to achieve it. Don't worry too much about, you know, genetics or what people are telling you. You can do anything when you have the right programming, the right coaching, and you have the right drive behind it to execute it. Okay, so hope this video was helpful to you guys. Let me know what other comparisons you want to see. Do you want me to do some more specifics on bikini and wellness? You want to see some figures, some women's physique? Let me know what you guys want to see, and I will do those for you. Happy to keep it going. And please, as always, make sure you subscribe to my channel because we've got tons of great content coming at you. All right, thanks guys, talk to you later.